All right, as we start out our first speaker for today, it's truly an honor again to stand amongst giants. There are some major people going to be hitting this stage. So guys, come on in, join us here under the big tent. This next person is no stranger to the freedom world. He has fought for our freedom. He served in the military for 6 years. He then followed that up with a 30-year law enforcement career. It's truly an honor to introduce to you President of Firearm Owners Against Crime, Mr. Jim Stoker. Round of applause.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Bless you all for being here, honestly. My name is Jim Stoker. I'm the president of Firearm Owners Against Crime, Institute for Legal, Legislative, and Educational Action. What does that mean? That means we are the Second Amendment organization in Pennsylvania. Our role in Pennsylvania is to fight for legislation, education, and if we have to, we take it to court to make sure that your rights don't get taken away on Second Amendment issues. Now, many of you might know Kim Stoker. Kim was our former president. God rest his soul, we lost him this year in April. There was no greater legend in the Second Amendment community in Pennsylvania. Kim was an absolute legend as far as what we stand for with Second Amendment issues. Why is that important? Well, because it's not exactly an easy task to have a man like Kim Stoker come to you and say, hey, Jim, guess who's taking over? Oh, and by the way, we just lost the House of Representatives. Thanks. I appreciate that, right? So fortunately for me, we have a great organization. I have a board of directors. My vice president's here, Clint Macro. We have a 10 out here on the booth. Dave Weaver's manning. We've had some folks. All we do for you is fight in Harrisburg. That's our role. We don't go federal. We stick with the state. Why is that important? Well, they've asked me to come here. Kim Stoker loved this event. For years, Kim would come to me and go, you've got to come out the Rod of Iron with me. You've got to come out. I work in law enforcement. I work 12 and 18-hour shifts. I had to take a vacation day to be here today, right? So it's not easy for some of us to get here. Many of you had to go through trials and things to get here and spend that. You're sacrificing. You're sacrificing time from your family or time from your workplace or other things that are important to you to be here to hear a message. So I'm going to give you a message, and I want to make sure it sinks in. We're up against something now in Pennsylvania that we haven't seen in probably about 15 years. Many moons ago, there was a movement in Pennsylvania to actually strip your rights away called the Uniform Firearms Act. It was 1995, and that's when the gun laws started to come out on paper in Pennsylvania. They started to say, you need a permit, you can't have this, you can't have that. And from that day, those books started, it was 50 pages long, and we hated it. We absolutely hated it, and it was 50 pages in 1995. Here we are 28 years later, it's now 148 pages. Is there anybody in this room that believes that your rights are not being taken away from you? Does anybody read The Wall at Harrisburg? Has anybody read Ben Franklin's words, right? Those who would sacrifice liberty to gain some temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. What does that tell you about where we are? Do you think your politicians are reading that as they come and go from the Capitol building? Absolutely not. So here's my challenge, right? Right now, there are 5 major gun bills in Pennsylvania that are trying to take your rights away. Red flag laws, we call them extreme risk protection orders here. That was passed by the House of Representatives this year. The anti-gun group now dominates the House of Representatives. When I say anti-gun group, what do I mean? We're not talking about whether they're Democrats or Republicans. FOAC doesn't care. We don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican. All I care about is you're pro-gun or you're anti-gun. That's it. That's what resonates with me. If you're anti-gun, we want you gone. I don't care whether you got an R or a D next to your name. How did that bill pass our House of Representatives? Start looking around and ask yourself that question. The anti-gun group now rules the House of Representatives in Pennsylvania. The next bill that went through is universal background checks. If you are unaware of why universal background checks are a bad idea, I encourage you to go to our website. It's FOAC-ILLEA.org. We put out white papers where we write 4- and 5-page long papers to educate you and our legislators. Every legislator in Pennsylvania gets it. We educate on why these bills are a bad idea. And that's our purpose. This is what we do. Once we got through red flag laws and universal background checks, they now want to make it illegal if you don't report a lost or stolen gun. Well, that's great, but did anybody tell you that that law cannot be applied to somebody who's already a criminal? If you're already a criminal It can't be enforced on you because you have your Fifth Amendment right not to incriminate yourself. So it only applies to who? Law-abiding citizens. So why are we creating laws to do nothing but incriminate the law-abiding? There's a good question, right? The next issue, mandatory storage. Does anybody think the government should be allowed to come into your home and tell you where your gun should be? Well, there's 50% of the House in Pennsylvania thinks they should. Is that a problem? So how do we fix these problems, right? We know these bills are out there. They don't think they can win mandatory storage. So now they came up with a new one. It's mandatory storage if there's a minor in the house. How many of us have children? Anyone under the... Okay, let's say you don't have children. Oh, that doesn't affect me. Do you have family that comes over with a child? Do you have friends that have kids that come over? The minute that child comes in your home, you are a felon if you don't lock your guns up. That's what they want to do to you. And that's why we do nothing but fight against these ideas. This is the principal concept that is being lost. We've got to reread, not rewrite. Don't give me the Article 5 stuff. We need to reread the Constitution. We need to reapply the Constitution. We need to reinforce the Constitution, not rewrite it. And the reason that we have to do this is you were given these rights not by the government, not by the Romans. You were given these rights by your natural tent of existence, your God-given right to defend yourself and your family. But what's the issue? So what's the issue? Why is it that there's 50% of our nation now thinks that your right doesn't matter as much as their feeling of being safe? And I say feeling because we all know these laws don't stop criminals. So if I make you lock your gun up, I make you leave your gun at home, I make you turn your gun in, I'm safer? No, because the criminals still have them. And this is what we're all about here in Pennsylvania. So if you're not familiar with FOAC-ILLEA, please give us a look. We are a membership-driven organization. We are nonprofit. I'm a volunteer. Clint standing over there, he's a volunteer. Everybody in my organization is a volunteer. And the reason why we're volunteers is the money that we do get goes to fighting for your rights with litigation. How do you beat the politicians? What's the one thing we have left that we can beat the politicians with? It's the courts. The courts are the last bastion for us. And why I'm saying this, why is this so important, is we have an election coming up. On that election is a Supreme Court justice. Do you want your rights or don't you? On that election, I believe 2 Superior Court seats. Do you want your rights or don't you? The time for saying somebody else will do it is past. And this has become an issue with sportsmen, Second Amendment folks. I don't care if you like to shoot sporting clays, if you like to hunt, trap. I don't care what you do. If there's a gun in your life somewhere, then you need to get off your butt and get moving with us. I don't care what you think is happening out there. You need to become engaged. Why? Because what you're seeing happen right now is the somebody else will do it mentality, and we're losing. We've lost the House, and we don't have the governor. What's next? All we have left is the Senate. Right now, that's a firewall for us. That's why we don't have red flag laws in Pennsylvania, is because of the Senate. But if we all sit still and we do nothing, what happens next? We lose the Senate. Do you want to be in a Pennsylvania where you can't carry your gun, where you have to lock it up in your house, and where they come and take it from you if you have a 10-round magazine? Because that's where we're headed, folks, if you don't get up off your butts and do something about it. I will fight for you till the day is long. I've got 45 days till I'm retired from law enforcement. And the day that happens, FOAC, well, Clint will tell you it's already my life. Where am I right now on a Sunday? I'm from Pittsburgh, folks. I drove here last night after an NRA convention because I want you to hear what we have to say. You got to get up and get engaged. How do you do that? Find that one person that you know doesn't vote. Find that one sportsman, that one pro-gun person, that one conservative-minded thinker that you know does not vote, and get them registered. Take them by the hand if you have to and walk them through the process. Bring them to my house. We'll sign them up. Get it done. Because if each of us can take one person, just one, we're going to pick the next Supreme Court justice. We're going to pick the next Superior Court judges. And when that next election comes around, we're going to change the House back to a pro-gun House. And then we don't have to worry about it for the next 2 years. So my time is about up here. My purpose in coming here was to get you engaged. If you think for 1 minute that you're doing enough, you're wrong. I thought I was doing enough once. I served my country for 6 years in other countries. I served my law enforcement community for up on 30 years now, dealing with the absolute dregs of society. And yet I found a new purpose here. And this new purpose is going to carry me till the day I die. I welcome you to jump on this train and take a ride with me. Thank you very much.
Another round of applause for Jim Stoker. Hey, listen up, guys. When these guys leave the stage, here's what I want you to do. I want you to get on your phones, and I want you to find his Instagrams. I want you to find his Facebooks. And this is what we need to do as the community here. We need to get on, and we need to follow these men and women who are taking this stage. So another round of applause. Firearms Owners Against Crime, Jim Stoker.